known as Princess Aspian, and welcome to my channel. So something that kids on the spectrum struggle a lot with is communicating and socializing and being able to express how they feel, especially in situations which are really scary. Take me for example. I talk way too much. However, that literally goes out the window when I'm upset or stressed. So let's have a brief story time video. I was on a train to an acting job a while ago and it ended up being the train ride from hell. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are Melburnians or from Victoria, but in Melbourne, we have this special train card thing which you swipe it on and it gives you a train ticket. Okay, just stay with me. My train card ticket thing is a card that is used for people that are on a healthcare card, on a pension, that are young, that are, you know, this, that, or whatever. And because of my healthcare card, I qualified to have one, so there we go. Now, that's never been an issue for me because, you know, you have the card, you obviously have a reason for the card, otherwise they wouldn't have given it to you in the first place. But I was approached by the train officer who always, you know, checks all the cards, and he checked my card, and he saw it, and his first reaction was, this card doesn't belong to you. He then started telling me that if I didn't hand over a correct amount of money and pull out the card that I was meant to have, that I was eligible for prosecution, a fine, and possible imprisonment. Imprisonment, like jail, like behind bars. So obviously I began to freak out. I was so scared and so upset because I saw this guy who was like easily like 6 foot something. He was huge, he towered over me, and he was telling me that I was going to be going to jail, and I was like, man, all I wanted to do was get on the train. Like, I forgot how to talk, I started crying, like I tried to open my mouth and all that came out was just like, bleh. Now, this guy saw my little episode as trying to get out of it. He took my details down after I managed to kind of calm down enough to remember my own name, and he then told me that there was going to be a letter from the court coming to my mailbox. I was able to continue my journey and get off at the stop that I was meant to get off at, thank God, but it doesn't end there, because, you know, being told you're going to jail is just not enough in one day. So I got to my acting job, I did that, we did it, we went to the studio, everything was grand. I then took the train from the studio back because I was kind of like, okay, I know that I have the right ticket. There's no worries, like I'm allowed to catch a train still. So I used my ticket, I got on the train, it was all good, it was a pretty empty carriage, and I was like, cool, great, awesome, by myself. But then, a woman walks onto the train and I was like, okay, cool, there's someone else in this carriage, whatever, she'll, you know, stick to her side, she'll do her own thing. There was like 4 people on this very large train carriage. She came and sat like smack bang right next to me. What are you doing? This woman starts mumbling to herself, like, not just kind of like, oh yeah, I have to do the grocery shopping. Like, it was quite bizarre mumbles and words that I will not say again because they're bad words. But then she looks at me and she reaches into her little crochet handbag and she pulls out a lighter and just starts like doing this with her hands, like burning herself. And I was just looking at it like, there was skin like coming off of her hand. She was burning herself. I realized now is probably a good time to move and find another seat. So I got up, and the seconds that I got up, she took the lighter from her own burning hand and moved it to the dress that I was wearing, and she took the bottom of the dress and singed the lighter at it. Completely freaked out because I had just been set on fire. Some woman had just set me on fire. So as I freaked out over the fact that this woman had just tried to set me on fire, the other person in the carriage, he noticed and was like, you need to leave, you need to get out now. I was like, okay, that seems like a reasonable option. So the next stop, which was only, thank God, only literally a couple of seconds away, doors opened and I just bolted. I just grabbed my bag and ran. Started having a panic attack. My body was shaking. I couldn't breathe properly. I was freaking out. I went to the bathrooms and I sat down and I just kind of calmed myself down for a little bit. And then when I realized, okay, now I have to figure out what the next train to catch was to get home, I pulled out my bag to rummage through and find my train card. and I realized I had left my wallet on the train. And that only led to more stress and more issues because that was my only method of getting home. I lived 2.5 hours away. My mum and my dad were both at work. My dad was at work 7 hours away. My mum was at work 2.5 hours away. There was no way that either of them could pick me up. I didn't know anyone that lived near that area. There was literally no other method to getting home, and I stressed out and I freaked out and I was like, what am I meant to do? Now, my parents have always taught me that if ever you're in trouble, find a responsible looking adult. So I found a train conductor, which I was at the time still terrified of because of what had just happened that morning. But I was like, this is the only guy I can speak to. I went up to him and I opened my mouth to start talking to get him to help me, and all I did was cry. I shook and I cried and I broke down, and he was just kind of staring at me like. I rang up my mum and just handed the phone to the train conductor. They had their discussion and my mum explained everything to him. So long story short, a couple of other things happened that day, but I don't want to go into any more details because even just like remembering all of this is like causing my heart rate to. Kids on the spectrum can find it really, really hard to communicate to people on a good day. So imagine how hard it is when you're terrified and scared and worried and nervous and anxious and you're having a complete meltdown. It's almost like every part of your body forgets what it's doing and is just focused on keeping you safe. And because my body is fighting so hard to keep me calm, it ends up kind of doing the opposite. And in a situation where you need to be able to talk to someone to get them to help you, it doesn't really work. It just kind of ends up in this really bad, vicious cycle. Whew, I'm getting anxiety just thinking about this. After speaking to a lot of parents of kids and teenagers for that matter, who have gone through the same issue, I realized that this is actually a really necessary, really tough issue. But it shouldn't be, because everybody has the right to be able to communicate and talk to someone when they need help, and we just find it really hard to do so. So I searched the internet for weeks and I came to no suggestions. I couldn't find anyone who had come up with a solution for this. There was wristbands that you could get that just said, hi, I have autism on them, but like really, that's really not gonna do much. Going up and showing a wristband with a word that most people don't even know what to associate with isn't really going to help anyone in any situation. So I came up to the conclusion of something, and I do what I tend to do. I decided to fix it myself. So I have come up with communication cards. The first one that I've actually made something for you guys. This is what I have come up with. This is what I have done as a kind of solution to this issue which I've been talking about in this video. So this pack of cards comes in a set of 13 different cards, and they all have different phrases and sayings and communication methods on them to help a child to talk when they may not verbally be able to do so, such as a situation that's scary or intimidating for them, or something where they just may not be able to discuss what they're feeling. So the front card and the main card, and this is the card that I currently use for myself all the time, and it's just a very basic, hello, my name is blank and I've got autism. I may not talk or understand you and I may need help. Please call my guardian on this number. So there's 12 other communication cards in this pack. I've got things such as sensory overload, yes and no, asking for their weighted blanket. When a kid may be experiencing too many emotions, too many things happening inside of their mind, inside of their body to be able to verbally communicate how they're feeling, these cards are just really easy to be able to get them to help to explain what they're feeling. So these cards also feature Princess Aspian on them, which I thought was pretty cool. I've got these cute little actions and stuff. It's kind of like work in sync with what the card says. So for kids that may not be able to read very well, can just chuck it out, see what the picture is, and hand it to an adult. I'm 19 years old and I personally am using these for myself. I wanted to make these available to everyone, so I'm not trying to make a profit out of it. I am honestly just doing this so I'm able to help other kids, to be able to get other kids to have a voice, these kids that may not be able to speak for themselves, that may struggle with being able to communicate how they're feeling. I just want them to be able to have a voice and to be able to feel like they can connect with someone in situations where they usually wouldn't be able to. So these cards are available on my website. I will post a link down below so you can see them. You will be able to see pictures of all the different cards available so you know what you're getting in your set. I will also be writing a personalized letter to every single person that purchases a set of these cards. I really hope these cards help you because I know that they have helped me so much, and I've given them to a couple of friends and they have all been saying how much they've helped their kids as well. So I just want to be able to help you guys as well. I'm so excited that I am now in a position where I'm able to help you guys and where I'm able to be able to create things to make life easier for your kids or for yourself. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again next time. Bye! Look at how cute my dress is. I love it. It's so adorable. It's so beautiful. Isn't it cute? Don't just assume that you know something about us because you've read it in one of your big fancy textbooks, because I'm sure that those textbooks are lovely and wonderful and make you feel very clever. But I'm not a textbook. I cannot be confined to the words of a book.